Welcome back to another video. So within Blender Kit, if I'm gonna search over here for coffee, we're gonna see that there are a good amount of models that we can use. If I will change this to Cappuccino, we're gonna see that in this case there will be even more models. So let's take a look at this latte art coffee cup. We see the creator for this, so I can drag and drop it within the scene. I will also drag this one. And as we can see, some of those will be locked within the premium version. Now, if we're gonna take a look at how we can recreate something similar. So I drag and drop those within Blender. Now I will enable the shading. Let me see how those textures will now be downloaded. If I will select, for example, this one and then press on the comma, we're gonna see how this texture will look. So in this case, maybe the displacement map for this is not that well defined. If we go within shading, we're gonna see the material. So this has a principal BSDF material, and we can import multiple images for this. So we have the one for ambient occlusion, we have the diffuse map, in this case the Cappuccino JPEG, and we can also add normal map over here and also a height map for the displacement. Let's just check the other assets. So for example, we see that this one, the texture will look a lot better even from a close-up, and it will have a little bit of displacement. If I will go to the shading, we're gonna see that this material will be different. So it will not have the classic displacement. In this case, we'll have some mixing. So as we can see over here, there will be those mixing and with the ceramic texture over here. So actually this will not have any depth map. If you're gonna take a look at this one, you're gonna see that this, if I'm gonna rotate, it will look like this. So overall the looks are quite good, even though for a Cappuccino this has quite a lot of foam added, so it's not that great. If you're gonna go to the material, we're gonna see that this will have a bump map over here. And the bump map will be linked over here, and as we see, this will be the material layout. Now let's take a look at how we can create a different texture over here. So I will recreate this. So the first step that we need to do is go online and search for a photo. You can also take the photo using your phone if you want to. But for example, I will use this one. So I will right click, save image as, and over here, as we can see, I already have over here this copy texture folder where I added this one. So I'm just gonna add one to create a new folder, and within this I will type in diffuse, because this will be the diffuse texture. Now we see the file size, so it's not that great. We see over here in kilobytes. If I will open this, and if I will go within properties, we're gonna see that the dimensions of the image are good. So 1500 pixels by 1000. We can also go for other, for example, this one. Overall, this will be more normal too. So let's take a look at this, save image as. As you can see, this will not have the file format of a JPEG. If I will click on this, it will open over here. And if I want to open this in a new window, this will be that image, but it will be cropped, so it's not that usable in this case. If I'm gonna go back over here and right click over here and have this open in a new window, this will open that. So open link, I want to open the image in a new tab, and we're gonna see that this will be the image. So if I'm gonna save the image, I'm gonna go over here within a new folder. So I will delete that one, go back over here, I will create two. And we see the file format will be like this. Therefore, I will just press the screenshot, and I will do a screenshot of this. Afterwards, I can as well. But let's see, with the first image that I selected, we have the possibility to go either over here. So this will be on GitHub, as we can see. And this is a tool that will create the normal, displacement, ambient occlusion, and specular maps based on a diffuse map input. The same tool is also available over here, as you can see. Just the UI is a little bit different. We see over here the creator, Patrick Christian. I will also leave the link in the video description. So if I want to convert this, I can either click or drag and drop over here, and I will know that the texture will be added over here. And I'm gonna go with this one. So that will be the diffuse, and we're gonna see the other maps. We can do some adjustments. If we consider that the strength will be too high for the normal map, we can lower that. And we should also see a preview of this. So if I'm gonna go to the displacement, go back here, we can also change the level, and we're gonna see that this will react in real time. And we can also have it more sharp, or we can have it more blur in this case. We can always go back to the defaults, and in this case I will use a default, but we're gonna see maybe it would be wise to have this level slightly increase. After you do the changes, you can click on download, and this will start that download. We're gonna see the normal map, 3.6 megabytes. I also want a displacement map, and I'm gonna have this downloaded. You can change the file format either to PNG or JPEG. TIFF will be higher, so I would recommend using this. So we have the diffuse, the normal, the displacement, the ambient occlusion, and also the specular. And I'm going to download this as well. Now, those have been added within my downloads folder. So I will go over there and I will move those. So I will select those and I will go on the desktop. I know that over here I created the following folder, and I will have this pasted over here. So we see that not all of those have been transferred. So let's take a look at the others. These two have them moved. Okay, now within Blender, I will select the element that I want to texture, which will be this one. And I have the possibility to go within the material. So if I'm going to go within shading, this will be the default material. I can also delete the material. We see over here the naming will be like this. So this was created by a user, maybe from Asia, depending on that writing. So I'm just going to delete that material. I'm going to create a new one. And the new one will be a default principled BSDF. If I will go within the shading, it will look like this. And now I'm gonna use Node Wrangler in order to automatically input the base color, the normal, and so on over here. You can enable that within Edit, Preferences. Over here on the side panel, on add-ons, you can search for Node Wrangler, and you can check on this. And we're gonna see that this will automatically complete those. Okay, so with the principal BSDF selected, I can press, by default Ctrl T will import a texture coordinate, and we see it over here. So we have the texture coordinate, mapping, and this will only link the base color, the diffuse. But this is the main advantage of using a Node Wrangler. If I'm going to select it and I'm going to hold down Ctrl, Add Shift, and now press T, this will actually do the following. So we have this import dialog, and over here I can select all the maps. In this case, I have them on my desktop. Let's see over here. This was coffee textures. The folder we created was one. And over here I will select all of those. Keep in mind that the diffuse will be a JPEG, the other will be PNG files, but the main advantage is that this will automatically do the linking. So we see the base color was automatically linked over here for the color. And we also have the specular and the normal added. If I'm going to zoom in over here, in order to see the output of this, we're going to have the following output. Now we need to do some changes over here. So one of the change is regarding the UV mapping. Since the image was like this, it also added the table and the plate and the mug, and we only want to have the texture of that cappuccino. So to do that, I'm gonna jump back to the UV editing. I'm gonna press comma on the keyboard over here, so that should zoom me in. If not, use the mouse, and I will enable the real-time texturing so I can better see that. If I'm gonna press A, we'll select everything, and we're gonna see how that texture will actually look. In this case, the one that created the model of the cup also scaled this a little bit. So what we need to do, we have the possibility over here to change those textures. Keep in mind that the main advantage is if I'm gonna change the UV wrapping for the diffuse, that will also be changed for the other, and it will be the same if I'm going to start with either the displacement, the specular, or the height, or the ambient occlusion. So in this case, I'm going to use the diffuse one because this allows me to better visualize over here that texture. So I'm going to click over here and press A. That will select everything, and I'm going to press S in order to enable the scaling tool. And as we can see, we need to align this oval shape with the coffee mug. So I will need to scale it upwards. So I press S for the scale, press I for the axis, and we're gonna see how we can change that. And now it's important to maintain all the vertices over here within the interior, so not over here like they are within the white section of the cup. So something like this. And we have the updated preview over here. If I'm gonna jump to layout, we're gonna see how this will be positioned. So regarding the overlap of the texture, that's really good, but we have the following problem. Since the displacement map worked like this, so with the default settings, it added additional gray areas. So this is quite similar to the one that was originally, so from the start of the video, that also had the same problems. But we can tune down that amount. We can also play around over here with some of the values, and we're gonna see how this roughness will do some changes. So I'm gonna slightly increase this to 0.8. We can also change the IOR in this case to 1. That will add more light over here within the scene, but we still have those displacement map that are poorly defined. So in order to fix those, I'm gonna go back within the shading, and those will actually be controlled by the displacement section over here. So I'm gonna go over here onto the displacement, and we have the scale value and the mid-level. If I will leave the mouse like this, we're gonna see that the mid-level, this will be a neutral displacement value that causes no displacement. So we also have the lower value and the mid value and the higher value. This one will be maximum, 0 will be none in this case. So if I'm going to go with a low value of 0.05, we're going to see that nothing happens visually over here because we also have the scaling enabled. So if I will also change the scaling to be 0.1, we're going to see that this will be the output. And if I'm going to type in 0.01, this will be the output. And this will just slightly add a little bit of displacement. If I'm going to take a look, zoom out from the cup, it will look like this. Again, we can change the height back to 0.5, and we're going to see visually nothing will happen. And we can also add one more 0 over here. So 3 0 and a 1. And we see how that height map has been changed. And this is how we can, let's say, improve those. So we see it over here. This doesn't have any depth map. just some mixtures within that material, and over here we're gonna have that depth map. So from this perspective, if you're gonna take a look, those bubbles that are formed will appear to have a little bit of depth. If I will add over here 0.001, it will look like this. And if I would to remove that displacement map, if I'm just gonna unplug this, we're gonna see that by default it will look like this. So in this case, there are not that higher, let's say, visual appearance between those two. I can also plug it back. Since the value of the scale is set to such a low value, it will not influence this. So if I'm gonna add in 0.05, again, it will add that depth, but in this case, it will also create those additional islands. So maybe keep it at something like 0.05 like this. We see that Blender will automatically take this to a nominal value, so it shows that it's 0.01, but in reality it's 0.05, and that's still the value, but the number is rounded up like this. So if the cup will stay on the table and we have the perspective somewhere over here, this will also add that additional depth for the displacement. And this is highly useful also for tiling. For example, you want to create a wooden tile or a stone tile, and that will look a lot better with this kind of displacement mapping. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this kind of content. I will position a similar video over here on the left side, and I will also add a subscribe button to the right. So that's it. Thanks for watching.